Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible to all. Kindly confirm if you all can hear me. Please respond to the question box. A very good morning, students. This is your mentor, Shivani Sharma from mentorbuddy.com. Good morning, Shraddha. I hope I'm audible. Please confirm through the question box if you all can hear me quickly. Am I audible? Students, am I audible? Can you all hear me? Please respond through the question box if I'm audible to all. Am I audible? Can you all hear me? Students, please respond through the question box if you all can hear me. Morning, everybody. Am I audible? Can you all hear me? Please respond to the question box if you all can hear me. Very good morning. Good morning, everybody. Shraddha, Rishi Kumar, thank you so much for confirming, Shraddha. Once again, this is your mentor, Shivani Sharma, and I would like to welcome you all in another interesting session on soft skills today. As you all remember that in the last class we were doing about email writing. So today is the concluding session for the same, wherein we will be learning about what are the pitfalls in email communication writing and how are we going to avoid the same. All right. So today's session is again on email etiquette, and we are going to talk about the do's and don'ts of email writing. We will also be discussing about the points that we have to keep in mind whenever we are writing a professional email to anyone, right? I hope that you all can see the screen. Is the screen visible to all? Can you all see the presentation? Please respond through the question box if you all can see the presentation. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for confirming. Right? So in the last session of our soft skills, we have done a lot of discussion about email writing. We have done what is to, what is from, how we're going to mention about CC and BCC, what are the things, right? So let us take the step forward from there only, and let's try to connect the thread of today's session to the last session, right? So the new terminology which is in vogue these days is called as netiquette, right? If you talk about what is netiquette, that means network etiquette, right? So the proper way we communicate and interact with each other using email over the internet, right? So the proper way when we are communicating and interacting with people, making use of email over the internet, that is called as netiquette or network etiquette. All right. Right. Now, the question arises that why are we investing so much of time, or what is the importance and use of learning or understanding these netiquette, right? Students, please understand one thing very clearly, that email communication has become the most easiest, most cheapest and most quicker means of communication, right? We cannot think about our lives without this, without internet, without communicating over internet, or without netiquette per se, right? So this has become such an integral part, although it was not there since the start, right? When we were in school, we never learned how to write an email. We learned just to write letters, how to write notices, how to write memos, but nobody taught us of email communication. Reason being, it was not in vogue those days. But right now, students in class 5th, 6th, 7th are also, developing the ability to write emails. They are aware of what is an email, right? And as a professional, it has become an integral part of our day-to-day working, isn't it? So the entire virtual working or virtual organization. Let me tell you another fact. When I was doing my MBA, that was in way back. It was in around 2003, right? And there was a concept of virtual organization which we were studying at that time, and we were like, a bit into, it was kind of an ambiguous topic for us. Reason being, can you think of a virtual organization? So we used to discuss like this: how is it possible that without, having proper infrastructure, how can we work like an organization? But see, in just a span of around 15 to 20 years, virtual organization has become an integral part, right? And even after pandemic, all of us are connected through this virtual network only, right? We all are working on the same. You are sitting in different parts of the country where you are attending your classes. I'm sitting in another part of the country, but I'm delivering a lecture to you. We are connected over this medium, right? So geographical boundaries has no limit, and this has become such an easier, cheapest and quicker means of communication. So it is very, very important for us to identify the significance, to know the protocols of email writing and communication, right? If I have to, ask you a question, right? So let me ask you a question, that what do you think, students? What is a better way of communication, right? How many of you say face-to-face communication is better? So if you think that face-to-face communication is better, send me number one. And if you think that email communication is better, we are talking about professional context. If you think that email communication is better, send me number two, right? Those of you who are willing to get the recording of the session need to connect at support.mentorbuddy.com. I'll be sharing the email ID towards the last of the session. Right. So most of you are claiming that email communication is a better mode of, connecting or interacting in a professional setup. And I do agree with you all. It's not possible for all of us, to meet each other free on a frequent basis whenever we have to communicate something, right? Otherwise, the entire day will go in meeting. And suppose we are a part of a virtual organization. Let's say I am, working with MentorBuddy and taking the different classes. If I have to, meet them, so we do a Zoom call, we do a virtual conference, we connect over the telephone for the communication, right? But if I have to go to meet them face to face, I have to travel all the way, right? Do you think it's possible? It's not, right? So depends on the circumstances and the type of communication that we have. So today, generally we avoid face to face kind of a communication, but the entire communication is based on technology that is not perfect. Sometimes we miss the deadline, or we don't have an access to email, or we have not checked our email for quite long, so that makes us miss any important information also, right? There is more possibility of miscommunication in email writing because it does not involve any non-verbal cues in it, right? So if we have not written the message in proper format, if the words are ambiguous, or if the person is not able to understand it in the same context as we are trying to present, there is more possibility of miscommunication. Email writing is more impersonal, whereas when we talk about face-to-face communication, there is, an added personal element to it, right? So email becomes sort of more robotic, very, very impersonal, sometimes even insensitive as well. But with the proper usage of words, with the proper expression and syntax of the sentence, you can make it very formal, professional, at the same time very empathetic as well, right? So if we are giving, that instead of face-to-face communication, we should take up, netiquette, or we should try to establish that network over internet. We need to be even be, double conscious about what we are writing and how we are writing. If you all have attended my session since the start, I've always said that communication is a two-way process, and it becomes, the responsibility becomes more on the sender of the message to make the things clearer and better for the receiver, right? And when it is totally based on technology, the responsibility is even more, stringent. Right. So as you know, this session particularly is on email etiquette or netiquette. There are certain basics or fundamentals that we all have to follow without fail, right? I have also taken up this slide in the last class, but those of you who have missed the last session, right, can please listen to this very clearly. I'll start from here. So whatever you are writing, it has to be clear, right? The first thing about business communication or communication skills is that whatever you want to communicate needs to be very clear, precise, and to the point. Do not try to beat around the bushes, right? So you have to be very clear in your message. Whenever you are writing an email, it has to be a planned email. Remember, we are talking about professional communication skills here, right? There has to be a format of the email writing that has to be followed. And if you'll just get hold of any business communication book, you will find that there are different formats for writing a good news and a bad news also. So whenever you are writing about a good news, you are going to mention the straight away the main subject of the email in the first paragraph. If it's a not so pleasant news or not so pleasant, thing, then we follow a funnel shape approach that is called as, first you will talk about the general, and then you will come to specifically that you're not selected for the job kind of a mail, right? Or you are fired kind of a mail, right? Your email writing has to be professional. Remember, I told you in last class that before, pressing or before sending any email, don't forget to proofread it, because once you have sent that mail, it's not going to come back. Remember, email contains subject line, and the usage of the subject line is to be very, very specific, right? The moment the person reads that subject line, it has to be very clearly communicated that what is the body of the email. You need to be respectful and polite. How can you be that? See, if it's a face-to-face communication, right, through your body language, through your gestures, through your posture, you can communicate a lot of things. But when it's an email communication, then it's just your words, the way you are writing it, the font size and everything plays a very important role, and that communicates that you're respectful and polite. Remember, we have talked about the 3 golden words in the last class, 3 golden words in English communication, that are please, sorry, and thank you. Don't forget to make use of it. You don't have to pay any tax if you are going to make use of please, sorry, and thank you in your communication, right? Ensure that you are writing an appropriate mail, and at the same time, the receiver, right? So the emails that you are going to write into, and the person to whom you are sending a CC, that has to be appropriate, right? Suppose I have to invite you for my birthday party, so I'm not going to send a, I'm not going to include your father, mother, brother, sister, and grandfather's email IDs and CC. Do you think it is relevant? It's not, right? So the same logic goes for professional communication also. If I'm sending an email to a person who is directly involved in that, communication loop, then that person's email ID will come in too, and your immediate reporting head, who needs to be aware of the kind of communication that is happening between us, that email ID has to be sent in CC, right? Otherwise, it's not required that you are sending a CC to the entire group. There has to be an objective of mentioning somebody's email ID in CC. Clear? And there has to be proper spelling and grammar. How can you assure that? You can assure that by proofreading your email before sending it, right? So be professional and follow these basic email etiquette. Am I clear till here? Right? Any questions so far? Aniket, I have already discussed about CC in the last class, carbon copy. I will also take this up in the coming slides. Today also I have a slide on CC and BCC. I'll be taking up that. Right? If no questions, send me number 2 so that we can proceed. If you have any questions, send me number 1. Unanimously, everybody is sending number 2. Is everything very clear or nothing is clear? See, there are 2 situations when we don't have any confusions. One, everything is crystal clear and then we have no confusion. And the second stage is that no studies and no confusion. So no understanding and no confusion. What's the situation? All understanding, no confusion, or no understanding, no confusion? Aniket, don't worry, beta. I'll take up CC and BCC in the coming up slides. I have that slide for today's session as well, right? Okay. So finally, Swaroop says that all understanding. What about others? No understanding or all? If you have understood all, send me all. And if you have if you feel that no understanding, then send me no. That's a very smart response for everybody. All understanding, no confusion. Okay. I'm really glad if you have understood it all. Thank you so much for sharing. Right. So let's quickly proceed. Now, here comes so many boxes, but don't get overwhelmed. These are just helpful tips and very simple one, right? So if we want to improve our communication skills, and particularly if we want to improve our email writing skills, first thing that we are going to do, let me just change the color of my pen so that I can just write on these boxes. So the very first thing that we are going to do is, as soon as you have completed your email writing, spelling and grammar check. It's very simple. We have a lot of support by the companies also. Or whenever you are writing an email, you will find that if there is any spelling mistake, you'll get a red wavy line. If there's any grammatical mistake, you will again uh, get a red wavy line. If there is grammatical, so a lot of suggestions are given automatically as well. So remember, in the last slide we have talked about proofreading. So under proofreading we have spelling and grammar check, right? Then whenever you are writing an email, if it's a formal email, that should be reflected in the writing style. If it's an informal email, again that has to be reflected there, right? So a formal email writing and informal email writing has a different style. I don't think that I need to teach this because we all have studied about formal and informal letters in our school days, right? Whenever you are sending a professional email to anyone, you should make use of a signature that includes your contact information. That is very, very essential. Even if you are sending an informal email, you can always include your name and your contact number if you feel that the person might need to contact you for anything. Don't just assume that the person is having your contact details, right? Then whenever you are writing a professional email, you should always address it to a specific person. Dear Mr. Gupta, dear Mr. XYZ, dear Mr. Sharma, right? So address to specific person. Suppose you are not aware of that, who is that specific person, you can write the designation, dear HR manager, dear marketing manager, dear, suppose if you are not aware of that, you can always safely write dear madam oblique sir, right? That is the safest way. Be concise with your subject lines, right? Don't get overwhelmed that ma'am said that the entire message has to be clear from the subject line. So you are writing a two long lines as subject. Please do not do that. The subject line has to be comprehensive and clear, stating that what is the objective of writing that email. Be kind and respond promptly. This is very much required whenever we are talking of any professional email, right? Suppose it's an important email that has come up to you. You don't need to do any action, but at least send the acknowledgement, right? At least send that you have read the email and you are going to work on it, right? That is also required in professional communication. Be specific about what you want and how you want to attain in through your writing. That specifically means what is the objective of that email, right? And you are going to also mention towards the last of the email that what is the desired outcome. For example, looking forward for your report on this thing, or looking forward to have a notice circulated in the office related with this matter, or looking forward to meet you personally, or just include this copy of information in the final minutes of the meeting, right? So it has to be explicitly stated that what do you expect the reader to do after you know uh, after going through the email, right? Avoid attachments until and unless it is very necessary. Try to keep your email concise and within one screenshot. One screenshot means only one screen full, so that the receiver of the message is very clear about what you want to communicate. If you're going to write a page long email, then the person will, as soon as will look at it, it will give the impression that, oh my God, it will take a lot of time. Let me come back on this email, right? And then he will try to figure out some extra time when he or she could just go through the email and comprehend what you wanted to say. So try to make your email concise. Don't include any attachment until and unless it is very much required, right? But sometimes writing a long email is very important and it is required. Then what you are going to do, you are going to mention the different points as bullet points, or you can just number them in order of priority, right? Then avoid slang and text writing. This is very important. Do not make use of your WhatsApp language or SMS language, and do not just write a casual English or write so flowery English like Shakespeare that the person who is reading the email has to sit with a dictionary in hand, right? So avoid both the things. Don't write slang words, at the same time don't write very difficult English, right? So these are certain useful tips which will be handy for you, and you can understand that these are all do's and don'ts of email writing. Okay, So I hope that this much is clear. Any points, any questions, any confusion from these 9 points that we have discussed? Yes, Swaroop, formal language would be appropriate. Right. So, Krishna Vamsi Naidu, I will be showing you an example of email writing also. Okay. No questions? Send me number 1. All those who don't have any questions, send me number 1. Quickly. Respond promptly means to send a reply to that email. Ideally speaking, that email response has to be sent, any professional email has to be responded within 48 hours. Ideally speaking, within 48 hours, right? And few emails that are urgent within 24 hours. Okay, make sense? All right, let's continue. Right. So now let's talk about certain more do's and don'ts that we are going to follow. As we said, in the first slide only I have shown that since this is a non face-to-face or entirely technology oriented means of communication, there is more possibility of having misunderstandings. So how we are going to work on it? Remember that since it's all technology based, so your message may be missed, it may be ignored, lost, forgotten. Somebody else can also access the email. So ensure that whatever you are sending as an email is not very confidential, right? If you think that it's a confidential data, then you need to first cross check that whether to the person to whom you are sending is having an access, or somebody else might can also access that information. Sometimes more can be accomplished in one telephone call than 100 email messages. If you think that having a telephone call will probably be a better idea instead of sending an email, go ahead and do that, right? Let me also tell you another fact. As I'm a part of quite some organizations, as I'm working as a freelancer, we have a very peculiar culture in India, right? I'm also working with international for international projects as well, right? So their email communication is considered to be the most fastest means of communication. But in India, what happens is that whenever you are sending an email to somebody and it is of utmost importance and you're expecting a response back quickly, you are also sending a WhatsApp message or giving a phone call that I have sent you an email, kindly respond to it within 15 minutes, right? So that is the habit, right? So if you feel that without sending an email, if you are communicating over a telephone, that is going to work, go ahead and do that. Do not type in all capitals, see how bad it is looking, right? So in business communication, if you are in business communication, whenever you are writing something and it's in caps lock on, it is considered to be as shouting, right? So please ensure that whenever you are writing an email, it should not be in all capitals, neither the subject, right, and nor the body of the message. Give credit to those deserving of it and ask for permission to quote them, right? Suppose there was a meeting and now you are sharing the outcomes of that meeting. Somebody else has suggested something which is acceptable by everybody. So what are you going to do? You're not going to take the credit for it. Rather, you are going to quote that person that as per Mr. XYZ suggested, this is going to be the decision for the next quarter, right? So that is very, very important. Remember that you do not have complete confidentiality and privacy, right? As I told you as the first point also, that email is not a very safest way of communication. So do not share any confidential information over email, neither as an attachment nor as a body of the message. Clear? So these are certain points with the help of which you can avoid misunderstandings. There are some more words that I would like to suggest to all those wise people here. Always reread before hitting send. What do we mean by this? Proofreading, right? I have shared that earlier as well. So you are going to proofread your email before finally sending it. Ensure that the to field is carefully selected, right? The actual or the main recipient of the message has to be in to field. Then we have CC and BCC, right? You have to be very careful in deciding who is going to be included in CC and who's going to be included in BCC. Then there is an option of reply and reply all. Sometimes I've seen that people, without taking a note of that whether you need to reply to the person who has sent you a message, they just click on reply all, and that same email of acknowledgement goes to everybody. Let's say I'm sending an email to 20 people, and if everybody starts replying acknowledged, 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 so all 20 people will be getting that acknowledged, that acknowledgement as well. So ensure that what needs to be sent where, what has to be in to, what has to be in CC, where you're going to mark a reply, or where you're going to mark reply all. It has to be carefully and judiciously decided. Be careful. Do not use email to discuss confidential. Again, the very important point. Do not use email to discuss confidential information and situation, right? Do not share your username and password. That is very simple, and I am sure that everybody is following that. I've seen a lot of youngsters, right? They don't even give their phone password to their parents. Why? How can they give email IDs and passwords, isn't it? Now, some of you were asking about BCC and CC, right? So let's have a discussion. BCC is blind carbon copy, and CC is short for carbon copy, right? So in BCC, the name of the recipient is not visible to anyone but only to the sender, right? So the person whose email ID is mentioned in BCC, that will not be visible to the main, those people who are in to and CC list. Only the sender knows that whose email ID is there in BCC. In carbon copy or CC, you can make use of more than one addresses can be in this field. How you can separate it? You can separate it with commas, right? Now, BCC is used whenever you are sending an email to a long list of recipients, or when you want that recipient should not know the identity of each other. Then we make use of BCC. Carbon copy recipients are visible to all other recipients, right? So you can get an idea that who all are there in the communication loop. BCC should not be used as a spying device, right? We are not making use of BCC to spy on somebody. Rather, it is used only to protect the privacy of email addresses, right? Sometimes, let's say the hiring manager is scheduling interviews, and he is sending that that interview invite to 10 people, and the hiring manager does not want to share their information with each other. So then he or she can mention their email IDs in BCC, so that they will not know each other and they will not get to know that who all are coming for the final interview. Clear? So that is the idea behind BCC. CC is generally used when others are referenced in the email, or for those you want to be included in the conversation, right? I have given an example also in the last class. Let me give you another example. Suppose a teacher Right. Suppose a headmistress is writing an email to a subject teacher stating that as board exams are approaching, so you need to organize online test for the students of class 12th, right? And she will keep the principal in CC so that the principal will get the will be in the communication loop that this is the work that is assigned to class 12 physics teacher, right? So that is the importance of CC or carbon copy. I hope that this is clear to everybody now. The relevance of CC and BCC. Nandish, which point are you talking about? Please tell me again. Third point in CC and BCC. Aniket, freelance means that when I'm engaged in different assignments for different organizations, right? So I'm working on hourly basis and not with one particular organization for the entire day or for the entire month. Okay. Right. Nandish, which third point are you talking about, beta? Use this when sending to a long list. BCC. Okay. Uh, right. Let's say that, okay. Use this when sending to a long list of recipients or to recipients that should not know each other. Suppose your class is working on a project, right? And your computer faculty has assigned a project to everybody, right? Now the computer faculty is sending out some instructions to the entire batch of 60 students, right? But he's not willing, or let's say to some other branches as well, he doesn't want that you people should know each other's identity and each other's email IDs to just avoid any hanky panky stuff that might happen, right? So he can include the email IDs in the BCC so that you should not get an idea that who all are involved in the project and what is somebody's email ID, right? BCC, see, there is no limit as such to it. You can send as many as 60 to 70, you can include their email IDs in BCC, right? So it has different limit for personal and professional communication. Am I clear on BCC? When you don't want to disclose the identity of the person, you make use of BCC. Clear? It is used mostly in corporate and professional communication, beta, and less in personal and informal communication. Now have a look at this. So let's say this is an example of an email from Jonathan Grove to Ashley Miller, CC Janet Costa and Nina Myers, and BCC is Julie and Skala. Right. Dear Ashley, thank you for your support with the meeting. I will inform you of the results as soon as the files get posted. Tomorrow's agenda will be available first thing Monday morning. Please review the details with Janet and Nina. Right. Now, Jonathan has sent an email to Ashley and Miller. Now, this is something that has to be discussed with Janet and Nina. That is why they are also included in CC so that they should get an idea that Jonathan has instructed Ashley to do the same. Clear? Now, Janet, Nina, and Ashley are not aware that this information is also shared with Julie because they are not able to see that Julie is also there in BCC. They have no idea about the same. This person, Julie, can be the senior person, right? As Jonathan is the assistant manager, so might be that Julie is the senior manager. Clear? So this is how we write and we prepare a CC and BCC email. Clear? Janet and Nina can see that this email is forwarded to Ashley. Ashley can also see that Janet and Nina are aware of this instruction now. but all three of them are not aware that Julie is also having an idea about what is the instruction that is shared with them. Only Jonathan knows that Julie and Scala is in BCC. Am I clear on this? Students, am I clear? Yes, the reason that why my staff sends you all BCC mails, so that you will not get to know that how many students are informed about this, what is their email, right? So that also involves some ethical, component to it. You're not supposed to share the email IDs of all the students with each other. Okay. Right. So finally, the concept of CC and BCC is clear to all my students, right? Now, as we have talked so much about email etiquette, let's have a quick AV on email etiquette, do's and don'ts that will help us in understanding more about the same. And it will also act as a quick revision for us all, right? Let's have a quick look at email etiquette AV. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can post it through the question window, right? I'm ready to take up all the questions as we are, the time is, we are just left with 20 more minutes for the session. So we'll be discussing more about email etiquette. Okay. Yes, the subject line was not added here. It was not intentionally, but the example was more to focus on CC and BCC. That is why. Yes, Sri Lakshmi, the person in BCC knows about who's there in CC, right? Let's have a look at the video.
It's both a major convenience and a ceaseless distraction. But regardless of how you feel about it at the present moment, one thing's for sure, it's an unavoidable necessity. Chances are, you can't make it through a workday without composing at least one email. Basics. When you build a house, you start with the basement. So before we dive into the specific sections of your email, let's take a look at the fundamentals. If you're sending from a personal address for a job application or informational interview, for example, make sure your address is still professionally sounding. You want to make the right impression, and partyboy123 at gmail.com isn't just going to cut it. If you've received an angry message or are feeling enraged yourself, step away from the computer for a few minutes. Firing off something in the heat of the moment will only result in problems. Include a friendly greeting and closing. It makes your entire message feel more complete, polished, and professional. Proofread. That's it. Timing. Effective timing is one of those things that's all too easy to forget about when you're doing your best to power your way through your inbox. But if you've ever received an immediate one-word response to a thoughtful, lengthy message, or you've waited weeks to get a reply you were anxiously waiting for, I think you'll agree that timing is worthy of a little more consideration. As a general rule, respond to emails as soon as you're realistically able to. You don't want to leave people hanging. If the message deserves a little more time and thought, try not to fire off an immediate response just to get it off your plate. Instead, reply and confirm that you've received it, and notify the sender that you're going to take a little bit of time to think things through. One tip to help you keep your responses in check is that the faster you respond, the shorter your answer should be. Recipients. Seemingly endless email chains. Coworkers who continue to CC you on messages that have absolutely nothing to do with you. Those teammates who seem to have no clue what that handy BCC field is for. They're all things that you probably gripe about. at least when other people commit them. But let's turn the spotlight on you for a minute. Have you gone against any of these etiquette rules in regards to your recipient list? Proceed with caution when using reply all, and only use it when everyone in that thread needs to be updated. You've been warned. Don't be afraid to use BCC, especially in the instances when you don't want all of the addresses or recipients to be visible to everyone. Here's a handy rule to keep in mind. Listing someone in the to field means that you expect a response. In contrast, if you CC that person, you're simply keeping him in the loop of your message to others. With all of that said, the fewer people you can include on an email, the better. Too many cooks in the kitchen will likely just lead to confusion and crossed wires.
Right. So the basic or the crux of this is that you will mention the name or the email ID of that person in two from whom you are expecting a response, right? Or who is directly supposed to take any step on that, right? So that person's email is mentioned in two, right? Those people who are simply, whom you want to be in, keep in the communication loop, so their names will be included in the CC list, and those people whom you don't want to share, what the entire thing is all about, their email IDs will be shared in BCC, right? The identity of the people whom you don't want to share will be in BCC. Now, there are some words to the wise, or keep these things in mind. Don't forget to include your country as part of your address. Suppose you are writing an international email, so do not forget to add your address, your area code as part of your phone number also. Virus protection software is only a band-aid, so don't download all the attachments of the unknown source, or don't open an email from an unknown source, right? Because this is how some people send malware and virus to different accounts. Avoid listing your email address in publicly available directories, and avoid replying to spam, right? Because with these emails, generally your IDs can be hacked, or your some virus or malware can be shared on your email also. So it happens more in the case of professional communication, right? So if your official email ID should not be disclosed everywhere, and you should not download these spam and other things on your official email. Now, send the right message. So what do we mean by that? Avoid abbreviations and emoticons. If you are sending a professional email, you should not make use of these emoticons or abbreviations. Business, for any kind of communication, the basic rule says know your audience, and depending upon your audience, you should design your message. So your language, your style of writing, everything just depends on who is your audience. If you're going to make a spelling mistake or grammatical mistake or punctuation errors, then it usually gives a bad impression which you should avoid, right? So always proofread before finally sending your email. Separate facts from opinions. Focus only on facts and not on opinions in your professional communication. Whatever is the most important message, or to the point on which you feel that your reader should lay the maximum emphasis, that should appear in the first paragraph. Don't forget the greeting and closing statement, right? It has to be appropriate, keeping in mind the the reader of the message, right? Accordingly, you are just like the salutation and the closure has to be very, very important. Email may not always be the best method of communication. So when you reply to an email, you must include the original email in your reply. Suppose it's a professional communication and you received an email 5 days back and now you're responding to it. So you are always supposed to, to send your reply to that thread only, or you should always include the original email in your reply. Never insult or criticize via email. Work out differences face to face. As I said, that email is not a very confidential means of communication. So do not write anything that you feel should not be disclosed on a, publicly. Misinterpreted tone. That is why I was saying that don't forget to make use of the three golden words, that is please, sorry, and thank you. Right? Your tone can be misinterpreted, so make a very wise use of the words in your email. Best impressions are the lasting impressions. Do not overuse urgent, important, or high priority option. I've seen a lot of people, writing this as in subject line. These kind of things should only be written once you feel that yes, this is something that has to be taken, that has to be responded on an urgent basis. Keep your language gender neutral. Do not write he or she excessively. If you're not aware of the gender of the person, or you're not, it's a general message, then make use of he, she, right? And not any gender specific word. Do not forward chain letters. That means do not, just forward the mail blindly, so that you have 10 emails as, as chain letters as well. Don't forward or send mails containing offensive, racist, or obscene remarks. I think we all are aware of this. Do not send viruses. I'm sure none of us are doing that. And if you think that your email is having a long message, then please do make use of bullets or numbers to make your email more comprehensible and more easy for the other person to understand. Be responsive and not reactive. That means avoid writing an email when you are upset or frustrated, right? Because suppose you are not in a very good mindset right now and you are sending an email, so you are bound to make use of the words which the reader might get offensive about, right? So whenever you are not in a good mood, do not send an email, just keep it in draft, settle down, and once you feel that you are in a better mental condition, now proofread and then send the email. Emails are permanent and you never know where they go and who will view them. And now even, the legally also you can make use of email as a legal document that you can produce in court in favor or in against of anyone. So please be, be rest assured that your email is not containing anything that is offensive or that you should not write. If you must send an email response ASAP, have someone reread it to make sure your response is appropriate and safe. Right? So if you need this, that you must send an email response as soon as possible. So then please ensure that you ask somebody to reread it to ensure that your response is safe and you can send it. Avoid attaching unnecessary files. We have discussed this in the earlier slides also. Be careful with your tone, right? Be humble and write a very clear cut and concise message. Remember, you are judged by your writing skills, because there is no non-verbal communication that is happening. So the entire way, or the whole way through which the receiver is getting the idea about the message will be just your writing skills. No text writing. No text writing means do not make use of the SMS or WhatsApp language here, right? That is something which you should definitely avoid. Email communication is super important. Why? Because it's very professional. It improves the efficiency of communication in business setups, and it protects you from liability. That is why it is super important. And if something is super important, that means it is more important for us to understand the format, do's and don'ts, and the etiquette related with it. right? Now, those of you who are attending my verbal ability sessions, we have talked about active and passive voice, where we have also discussed that maximum we should make use of active voice only, right? So in email communication also, please make use of active voice of a verb wherever possible, right? So I think if you all remember, we have talked about that when you want to emphasize or when you want to sound more personal, you make use of active voice. And when you want to emphasize on the other aspects, then you make use of passive voice, right? So for example, when I want to emphasize on what we are doing, we will process your order today. So the emphasis is on we. Whereas in passive voice, your order will be processed today. So in passive voice, the main emphasis is on the order and not on us. Clear? So in email writing, we make use of active voice more rather than passive voice. See, we have to take care of our English grammar skills whenever we are writing an email. We have to be clear about the grammar, we have to be clear about the spellings, punctuation, everything has to be taken care of. So emails without full stops or commas are difficult to read and can sometimes even change the meaning of the text. So an improper punctuation in your email writing might lead to ambiguous understanding of the message, right? Or unclear messages. Small paragraphs separated by blank lines are much more readable than long run-on pieces. Suppose it's a long email, do not forget to change the paragraph and leave one line space in between two paragraphs, right? To make your email, look neat, clean, and more comprehensible. Careless writing skills demean your intelligence and integrity. Suppose you have written something very casually in your email, the other person will never ever take you seriously and will understand that this person is not good either in English or is not having the ability to frame a proper email. And I'm sure that none of us would want that, isn't it? Now there are certain, etiquette related with email communication that are called as email etiquette. No, nobody is going to tell you this, but this is what is expected. First of all, try to reply to an email within 24 hours, right? Maximum 48 hours, not more than that. Establish an organized filing system. You can have different folders, you can keep your important emails or messages starred so that nothing goes missed. Keep copies of important emails for reference, right? Just like we clean our work table or we clean our study table after every 2 days, 3 days, or every day, do not forget to clean your inbox also. Remove or delete all the emails that are unimportant or not in use, right? Otherwise it will just clutter your inbox and probably you'll miss on some important emails. Use separate accounts for personal and business emails, right? And your business email should have a proper formal email ID also, right? So your your formal email should not be like charminggirl@gmail.com or handsomehunk@gmail.com. These email IDs you can use for your personal emails or non-formal. But for formal emails, it should be your name or the name of your organization, right? For example, hrmentorbuddy@gmail.com, or we have support.mentorbuddy@gmail.com or feedback.mentorbuddy@gmail.com. So these are all professional emails, right? So do not make use of any such kind of an email ID. Now, few other rules we have already discussed about it, but let's quickly have a look. Don't forget to say please and thank you. Your email should not be longer than one screen. Don't broadcast email messages unnecessarily. Your sent email cannot be unsent, right? Once you have sent your email, there's nothing that can brought it back. So be, double sure of what you are sending, and do not assume privacy once you have sent an email. So once it is sent, it is sent. You will not be able to bring it back, right? Now let's quickly have a look at this small video that will make us understand that what are the common mistakes that we all do. And this is a video by BBC Learning English. It's an interesting video, and it really talks about the problems that all the students face whenever they complete their college and they start working.
Just arrived at her desk to start the day at Tip-Top Trading. Paul's walking towards her, eating a biscuit. He looks a bit bothered. Anna?
Yes, Paul.
Come and have a biscuit in my office. No. Anna, Mr. Lime.
I didn't say yes.
Pardon? Yes to what?
Oh, nothing.
You sent him an email yesterday and copied me in.
Yes.
Your email reads, boxes OK, PLS, CDU, C firm WNT 300 tar.
Yes. Please, could you confirm you want 300?
Right. Now, that's not really the best way of writing an email to a client, is it?
Oh,
Please, could you resend your message to Mr. Lime using actual words that make sense?
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Morning, Anna.
Hello.
Let me guess. Paul just spoke to you about your email.
How do you know?
You copied me. I just read it. Or tried to.
But what's the problem? Other people write like that.
No, maybe some people write text messages like that in an SMS message on their phones, but that is completely the wrong style for an email to a client.
Okay, Anna, let's stop listening to Tom. He's a waste of space. These are the kinds of phrases you need in a business-related email. Dear Mr. Lime, I hope you're well. I'm writing regarding... Please could you confirm yours sincerely or best wishes?
Thank you. I'll rewrite my message. Then I'd better get it checked before I send. Denise?
Yes, the other problem with Stephanie is that her legs are just too long.
Oh, she's on the phone.
Yes, like trees.
I'll have to ask Tom. Tom? Could you read this through before I send it?
Hang on, Anna. Just let me finish this sentence. It's really important. Right, I'm ready. Let's have a look. Okay. Dear Mr. Lime, I hope you are well. I'm writing regarding your request for luxury boxes for the Imperial Lemon delivery. We will indeed supply them. Please, could you confirm that you want 300? Best wishes, Anna.
Well,
It's good. It's much better. Send it. Hopefully, Mr. Lime will think your last message was just someone sitting on your keyboard by mistake.
thanks.
You're not.
What?
Well, it's nothing. No, it's none of my business.
What?
You're not ever going to go to lunch with Mr. Lime, are you, Anna? I mean, in a non-business way.
No, of course not.
I mean, I don't care. It's just important to stay professional.
Yes.
Well, I had a feeling Anna's email was going to cause problems. At least she won't make a mistake like that again. Here's a reminder of the phrases she used in her new improved email.
Dear Mr. Lime, I hope you are well. I am writing regarding. Please could you confirm best wishes?
Until next time, bye!
Right, so I hope that we all are clear about this now, that what are the mistakes that we are going to avoid. As you have seen that the person, Anna has sent an email which consists of the messaging language that is not acceptable in professional communication, right? So this brings us to the end of the session today, and I am sure that we all have understood very clearly that what are the do's and don'ts of email writing. We have given 2 sessions on email writing, and I'm sure my students will not be facing any issues related with this now. So this is just the last ritual of the session, that for any kind of technical support, anything, any issues or challenges that you're facing, you can write to us on support@mentorbuddy.com. For your suggestions, feedbacks, comments, queries, anything, you can write on feedback.mentorbuddy@gmail.com. You'll be getting the certificates for the webinar. Please upload it on LinkedIn and tag us on Quantum Learnings. And for the coming up sessions on verbal ability and soft skills, you can register yourself on mentorbuddy.com or centerofexcellence.com. You can register yourself for the different sessions, right? Thank you so much, students. If you have any queries, feel free to write to me. I'll take up all your queries. Any questions? Okay, so all those who want to send their assignment can send on feedback, right? So feedback.mentorbuddy@gmail.com, right? I hope that the class was interesting, right? And I'm sure that you all are going to get the benefit of this class. Is that? Thank you so much, students. Take care. We are meeting coming Friday for verbal ability and next Sunday for the soft skills session again. Thank you so much. Take care. Any questions? All right, seems that nobody's having a question, so I'm just ending the session. Thank you so much.